listening to. I say you are listening to. You are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Right? I can't outshout you. My voice isn't right. Thank you. I was going to try to outshout you, but I know I can't do that because my voice still isn't right. But I'm up and running anyhow. I might slur my words, or they might go away, fade in and out. But nonetheless, we're here tonight, and wow, do we have a doozy of a show for you. But first of all, to all of our friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I welcome you to the George Espinlove Show. And I hope that you have a very, very good time. Yeah. Let us continue. Let us continue. Okay, calm down. That's it. We're coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World, which we have no idea where that is. We want you to email us, George C.E. That's George C.E. at Comcast.net. And I thank you for the emails that we have received, and I thank you in advance for the emails we will receive. And as I often say, just about every time, we will reply to the email. We have replied to the emails that you have sent us, and we will reply to the ones that are coming. So now that that's all out of the way, George C.E. at Comcast.net. Wow. Bound to cause some controversy. Bound to get somebody riled up one way or another. Bound to do something. We have with us tonight a man by the name of David Minier, who is a judge, and he has written a book, One Nation Under Obama's. That's why I said it'll stir up some controversy. It will cause some kind of reaction. So I'd tell you to sit back, but I don't think you'll sit back for too long. This is going to be one of those, you know what I call them, scrooch up on the front of your seat kind of show. And lean in close to your listening device so you don't miss a word. We're going to bring the judge on right about now. Judge Minier, welcome to the George Espinlove Show.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're delighted to have you, sir. I told our audience, and I also, when we put the information up on our show page today, I told everyone that this is bound to get a reaction from someone, somewhere. Do you think that's about right?
I think you're absolutely right. The reaction it's going to get, I think, will be somebody on the left who's not going to like
it. They're coming from the left. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, sir?
Well, in a nutshell, I'm a retired judge. I'm still sitting, however. Retired district attorney for many years. Of course, that means I was a lawyer. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Stanford Law School. Also, I've been a military attorney, graduate of the Judge Advocates School. I was a district attorney, elected district attorney of 2 different counties in California for about 23 years. I've actually been elected 10 times to public office because I've also been a city councilman. I've been a district attorney and a judge. And now, as I say, I'm technically retired, but I'm still sitting. So that's it in a nutshell.
You prosecuted the Chicxulub school bus kidnapping case, did you?
Yes, I did. And I don't know if you remember that. A lot of your listeners may be young enough where they don't even recall it. But that goes back to 1976 when 3 young men kidnapped a busload of school children during the summer school session in Chowchilla, which is right here in California. That's where I am. It's in our great Central Valley, just a small town, and that achieved international attention. We had reporters here from all over the world.
And you took on the Santa Barbara Channel oil spill.
That was also back in the 70s. That's when I was district attorney in Santa Barbara. And we had, that is actually what President Nixon called the ecological shot heard around the world, because there was a giant oil leak from the offshore oil platforms in the Santa Barbara Channel in California. And I prosecuted 4 major oil companies for that. And I found out that was definitely being David, that's my name, going up against Goliath, because they're pretty fearsome.
Something, and I shared this with you before we went on the air, something really caught my attention when I was reading your bio, that you sued the CIA. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I did sue them. I think that was in the early 1990s. And I sued them under the Freedom of Information Act. The procedure under the Freedom of Information Act is if you make a demand upon a public agency, federal agency, for information and they won't disclose it, then you have to sue them in federal court. And I made a demand under that act that the CIA disclose information as to whether a certain gentleman had ever been employed by or for the CIA directly or contractually or however, because he had alleged he was involved in the Kennedy assassination. They of course stonewalled me. I sued them in the federal district court. I lost there, but I appealed it up to the Circuit Court of Appeals. And as a matter of fact, we have the first televised hearing ever of oral arguments in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But I lost there too. The interesting thing is, a couple of years ago, somebody sent me an email and he said, "You better check on this," and he gave me a website that showed the released documents from the CIA that they release after a certain number of years. And there was a list of employees, and this fellow's name was on the list. So although I never got them to admit to me that they employed him, they later on, years later, released information showing that he was an employee.
I'm sure, like myself, the day that President Kennedy was assassinated, you remember exactly where you were, right?
Absolutely, I think everybody does.
Yeah. Then I see that you've done some mountain climbing.
I guess you discovered that in the bio. Well,
Yeah.
I did that, yes, in earlier years. I enjoyed that. I went up a number of big mountains, and it was a very enjoyable pastime.
And then I see that you of all things were arrested in the Congo. As you were suspected of being a Belgian spy, huh?
That's right, George. That's when, of course, I was a young person, and I was hitchhiking throughout Africa. That was after I finished my law school, actually. And I just happened to be hitchhiking through the Congo right after the Congo had been given its independence by the Belgians, and there wasn't very much public order, and their armed forces that they called the Force Publique were in charge because all the Belgians had left. And I was out there hitchhiking, and they decided that I must be a Belgian spy. They weren't really very intelligent people that I dealt with, and it took me a while to convince them that I wasn't a Belgian spy, and they then kicked me out of the country.
That, I guess that's a whole lot better than going to jail, right?
I guess it is. I might tell you one aspect of that you might enjoy, and some of your listeners might enjoy. That was where I got my first taste of the United Nations. And the United Nations had a checkpoint just down the road, a couple of 100 feet from the checkpoint of the Congo Army. And after I was arrested, I asked if I please couldn't just go down over there because you could see the UN camp. I said, can we please go over there and just talk to them to see if they can help me get out of this? So the Congo officers, well, they weren't officers, they were enlisted men, I guess. But at any rate, they took me over to the encampment of the United Nations, and I spoke with a major, an Irish major, told him my predicament, that this was ridiculous, that I had a passport with a good visa into the Belgian Congo. The trouble was, it had been signed by the Belgian consulate, and the new Congo wouldn't recognize it. But at any rate, the major just shook his head, and he said, you know, if I try to help you, they will be convinced more than ever that you are a Belgian spy, and you'll never get out of jail. So I can't do anything for you. Well, that was my first impression of the United Nations, and it's frankly never changed since then.
The good old UN. I'll just let that alone because that can send me places that I don't really like.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that was really great news that you received from that major, huh?
It sure was. It was a little disillusioning.
Just what a fella needs a time like this. You've written several books. What's some of the books that you have written?
Well, I've only written one other one that's been published. I wrote an unpublished travel book years ago. But the other book I've written is a novel. It's called The Ararat Illusion. The Ararat refers to the Ararat Mountain in Armenia. Now, of course, it's actually in Turkey, but it should be in Armenia. And the novel actually takes off from one of the cases that I prosecuted, which was the assassination of two Turkish diplomats by an Armenian gentleman that wanted to avenge the Armenian massacres of 1915 and following.
Mm. And this book now, One Nation Under the Obamas. I guess
Right.
It would be good if you just kind of explain the title to us.
Well, I'd be glad to do that because I have to point out to people that it is plural. It's One Nation Under Obamas.
Obamas.
And that's because this book purports to be a history written in the future, written in 2022, looking back over the prior 10 years. So I take it step by step, year by year, as a history book that's written later. And in the history, I have Michelle Obama becoming president, our 45th president being elected in 2016. And I might just mention that I'm getting a big kick out of hearing some very, very recent conversation about Michelle Obama, because the first edition of this book actually came out a couple of years ago. And people have been saying to me, well, you can't be serious. This is nutty stuff. This talk about Michelle Obama running for president. You're pretty far out. Well, Rush Limbaugh now has mentioned it at least twice, just including today, mentioning the potential for Michelle running in 2016. But that's how I get the title One Nation Under Obamas, because we have two President Obamas.
I was going to say while you were talking about it, I was going to say, I could imagine that there's a lot of people that just looked at you like you had two heads, but you answered you answered that question. But yet, things aren't as far fetched as people thought they were or thought they could possibly be, right?
Well, that's right. And what I tried to do in the book, George, was to show how gradually we're going to descend into this totalitarian state, into a status of tyranny, just bit by bit, where until the end, the people will gradually, willingly give up their freedoms in return for benefits. And if you were just to come out and say, in 10 years, things are going to look like this, it'll be the same reaction that I got a couple of years ago when I said Michelle's going to run for president. People would say, you're nuts, that can't happen. But I try to present it just piece by piece, increment by increment, to show how slowly this can come about. And as you point out, today it doesn't seem so strange that we talk about Michelle possibly running for president.
I sometimes, in fact, a lot of times lately, have pictured us Americans like the frog that's thrown into the water pot and the fires turn on, and just gradually it gets us. Not all of a sudden, but gradually. This has been creeping into our society for, I'm 64 years old. I can look back now and see that this has been creeping into our society for a long, long time. Am I correct on that?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think probably if you want to have a starting point, you might start with Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal, which in my generation, when I grew up, you couldn't say a bad word about FDR in most circles, because he was considered the savior of our country. He pulled us out of the Depression. Well, there's been a lot of revisionist history on that, and there are a lot of books that are coming out showing that really is not quite the case, that we pretty well came out of it on our own, not due to his programs, and that the thing that really turned it around, of course, was getting into World War II.
When did I read in the in the first part of your book where people traded freedom for things, or did I read that somewhere else?
Yes, you did. It's in there, and that's what I think is going to allow the Obamas and their group to continue in power. They know that they need more votes, and they're on their way to try to get more votes. And the problem that we on the other side have is that the more voters the liberals could get, and the more they can keep them voting liberal by giving them things, the harder it is for us ever to turn this around. And of course, that's what Obama's trying to do, give everything to everybody. And they'll say, well, when I'm getting this stuff that you give me that you take away from other people, why should I not keep you in office? Because I like it this way. Well, then if he manages to get a whole lot more voters through the immigration reform, that will just solidify things. So, yes, that's the whole, that's the way that the liberals approach it, is give them enough goodies, enough free things, and they'll keep us in office.
Do you think, or do you believe that the 2014 election for the House and Senate is almost as critical, if not more critical, than our last presidential election?
Oh, I think absolutely it is, and I certainly don't want to have happen to the country what I set out in my book. But of course, in my book, I have the Democrats easily taking the 2014 election, because Obama has worked so hard campaigning against the Republicans and blaming them for everything. So, yes, I think it's crucial. I think if we lose in 2014, it may be too late, really, to reverse things at all.
As the young people would say, if if the Democrats take the House and the Senate, we're toast.
Well, I think that's probably true. They're just going to be saddled with a world of debt. And young people, of course, tend to all want to vote liberal because all they want to have everything for everybody. They think that's the way the world. It's a nice viewpoint through rosy glasses, but if it could ever be brought home to the young folks that they're not going to have much of an economic future if this continues, you might be able to try to turn them around.
I have a hard time accepting the fact that, and I guess there's a lot of reasons. And some I can accept, and some I just blow away. But I have such a hard time accepting the fact that so many people believe that this will really work when it's never worked anywhere in this world during any time period, right?
George, it's just incredible. What you say is so true. And you can give example after example to show that the socialist or communist model has never worked. And just drawing from that, it's never going to work. But they just keep trying it over and over again and saying, this time we know how to do it right. And the gullible public seems to go right along with them.
Didn't Einstein say if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, you get the same results, the negative results? That's insanity.
He may well have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said it. It's just plain nuts. It's just crazy. Another thing, Judge Minier, the left wingers, and I mean they're about as radical nowadays as I've ever seen them. Sometimes I look at them and I think, do they really believe what they're saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, do they really believe that?
Well, I'm sure that some of them truly believe that, and others probably don't really believe it, but they're using that as a means to power, and those are their leaders. I'm not sure that the leaders really believe that. I think a lot of the leaders just want to get in power because they know that in a socialized state, or whatever you want to call what they're trying to bring to us, you will have an oligarchy at the top, a privileged class that runs everything. So they're not going to be sharing with other people. So those at the top, they may believe this beautiful utopia, or they may not. They may just want to get into power.
And that's their main reason: control and power, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Now I've heard, and when I was reading parts of your book this afternoon, I've heard before from different people, and some I can remember, some I can't, make the statement that you watch and see, George, Obama's going to run again. Something's going to happen that Obama's going to be like FDR, and there's going to be an amendment, and blah, 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 blah. And, I used to just kind of, throw it off. But I'm not so sure anymore. I almost believe it at times.
Well, in my history, I have Michelle Obama serving 2 terms starting in 2017. Mm-hmm. During that time, I have Barack Obama going to the United Nations and becoming their first president. I think that's where he really would like to be, the head of the world. But then I have the 22nd Amendment being itself amended in order to repeal it, in order that he can come back after Michelle has finished her 2 terms, and he can take a 3rd term. And that, of course, requires the repeal of the 22nd Amendment. But there are those that have been trying to do this, that have been wanting to repeal the 22nd Amendment for a long time, but they've always been just kind of a kook fringe. I think now it's something that we can see a real push for.
Where can people get your book, Judge Minier?
It's available at both at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, and it's available in I call it the tangible form, and you can also get it on the Kindle form also.
Right, you can either get it as a hard copy and they'll mail it to you, or you can get it as an ebook.
Great. You know, as we talk about this, I'm sitting here in fear and great tribulation. I mean, I'm just I keep thinking, no, it can't happen. No, it can't happen. But yet, that other little voice down deep inside said, be careful, because other people at other time periods have said the same thing, and lo and behold, it happened. What can we do? What must we do?
Well, the only thing we can do, George, is, as you pointed out, is we can try to take control of the Senate. We can try to keep the Democrats from taking back the House. That's as an interim thing to do before the next presidential election, and then we can try to elect a conservative in 2017. But I don't know how things are looking right now. I don't think they look very good, because Obama is certainly succeeding in running against the Republicans, and with the compliant media that we have going along with him, they're helping him place the blame entirely on the Republicans. So if we go into the 2014 elections with the Republicans being responsible for all the bad things that go on, we may lose the House.
You know, Judge Minier, when he first came upon the scene, speaking of Obama, I, like so many other people, I kind of scratched my head and thought, who is this dude? I mean, where'd he come from? You know, and the whole 9 yards. We, as far as I can remember, we've never had a man rise up to the presidency that was so obscure and suddenly burst upon the scene. Have we?
I don't think we ever have, but I think everybody pretty well knows the answer now. The nation was captivated with the idea of having the first black president, who happened to be good-looking, charismatic, well-spoken, and everybody just thought this is going to be wonderful. And I think the public just suspended any judgment, any critical examination. Certainly, the liberal media, the mainstream media, they totally fell down on their job, which should be to vet any high office seeker, and they were miserably lacking in that.
In your book, does he dismantle somewhat the military?
Well, yes. I have a number of things in the book. One of the things that he does is, and this I think is coming up fairly soon. Actually, he's going to cancel the European missile shield, and he's going to be withdrawing more of our forces from overseas. But besides that, what I have in the book, and I think he's already started doing this, I have him building up the Homeland Security into a regular uniformed force, which will be vastly increased in numbers. And then I have Congress giving them the command authority over local law enforcement, so that when we start having riots, and I have a lot of riots in this future history, when we start having riots, then they will effectively be put down under the command and control of Homeland Security, and that's going to end up being Obama's own, what he called his national security force when he was talking earlier in 2008 when he was running. So I think the military is going to end up kind of taking a back seat. I think also that the military, and this is something I have in my book, I have the riots getting so much out of control that Obama persuades the Congress to do away with or appeal the law that we have now, which is called the Posse Comitatus laws, which says that United States Armed Forces cannot be committed on American soil. In other words, we can't bring in the military at this time to help suppress a riot. I have Congress repealing that, and Obama then ordering the military in to suppress the riots, which causes big problems with the military because a lot of them refuse. In my history, I have a lot of court martials going on, a lot of people, in effect, drummed out of the military because of that. And the final blow I really have to the military is I have that Congress, at the behest of the President Obama, include in the oath of office that everybody has to take. The Constitution says everybody who's a public office holder has to swear to support and defend the Constitution. Well, I have them adding, and the President of the United States to that. So you have a loyalty oath to the President, and I have military people refusing to take that loyalty oath, and that causes them to get discharged. So, yes, that's kind of a long answer, George, but I do have a definite attack on the military by the President in order that he can put them squarely under his thumb.
That's almost like the biblical account of that's why Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego got thrown into the fiery furnace, because they wouldn't bow down when the king came by. You know,
I'm sure there've been a lot of examples of that throughout history where people have said, no, this is against my principles, I'm not going to do it. And I really do think if that should happen, that there will be just all kinds of people that would refuse to take that oath.
I had a fellow on here, a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, who was a former agent, customs agent, and then he was a supervising agent for Homeland Security. And he has written a book about it, all the negative things, the inside things, the scary things, the border patrols and all the things that's going on. This FEMA thing, I just recently read, and I don't know how true it is, but they have armored vehicles. They have training camps where they're training young people. Do you know if that's true, or it's just gossip, or do you know anything about that?
George, I don't have any information on that at all. I suspect the framework is there that would allow a considerable expansion of FEMA. Whether they actually have weaponry at this point, I don't know. I took a whole range of FEMA courses through the military, but at that time, that's all FEMA was. It was an organizing force and a training force, but it certainly wasn't into military vehicles and that kind of thing. But it may be now.
With his divide and conquer, with his divide, where the nation is so divided, and I've always said, since he's been in office, I've always said that is part of his or their strategy, is to divide this nation. It almost seems to me that they want some kind of uprise among the people.
Well, I haven't figured it that way, that they actually want an uprising. It would seem more logical to me that they just want to lull people into going along with them because they're going to get more benefits. At least at this point in time, I don't think that the Obama administration would be prepared for or want to have an uprising. But in my future history book, of course, I have them doing so many more things that eventually the people do rise up and protest, and then they're put down eventually very brutally by the Homeland Security people.
Do you feel that? Now I know just in the last few days, some of his poll numbers have come way down. Uh, Not way down, but they've fallen further than they were. Do you think that perhaps something is happening right now that will give us the momentum to do the necessary things that we need to do?
Well, whatever it is, I certainly haven't seen it. To me, it appears the American people are asleep, and the polls don't really seem to mean very much. Look where the polls had Obama before the election.
Mm-hmm.
They were the worst polls ever for a president before an election, but that didn't keep him from being reelected. So I'm hopeful for what you're talking about, but I haven't noticed anything like that.
Is there? Well, I guess there's always a possibility. These executive orders. Is he on the fringe of doing what the Constitution says not to do, or has he done more than the Constitution has said he could do in some of those things?
Well, as far as the executive orders are concerned, what the liberals like to do is to point out that he has not issued as many as other presidents have, and they try to kind of get around and hide the ball that way. The problem is not with the number. The problem is with the nature, I think, of his executive orders. And I forgot, he had a name for them that he used way back a year or more ago. The name that he gives them for when he can't do it through Congress, he's just going to do it by executive order. But that seems to be his MO right now. And I think it was a year ago that governors of, was it 10 or 12 states, I think, came out with some kind of a statement that listed 21 illegal acts by President Obama. Many of those were his executive orders. He makes these recess appointments, and I think most scholars agree that those are illegal because they're not recess appointments, because it's not a recess. He just says, well, it's a weekend. And because the Senate's not in session, it's a recess, and I can appoint somebody. So he does a lot of things by executive order. He tells the states that they can waive requirements, work requirements for welfare or the welfare recipients. And basically it seems to be that he's deciding that whatever he's blocked from doing by Congress, he can just do it by executive order. So yeah, I think he's definitely on the fringe. More than that, and this is not with the use of executive orders. Well, maybe it is executive orders because he gives an order to his department heads. For example, he's ordered the Justice Department to refuse to enforce validly passed existing laws. The Defense of Marriage Act, that is a law that was passed by Congress, and he's ordered the Justice Department not only not to enforce it, he's ordered them into court to argue that it's unconstitutional and should be thrown out. So this is not what a president is supposed to do, but it's what President Obama does.
When he does those kind of things, like what you just said, when it goes into the courts, can like he told them, don't enforce that law. So if it goes into the courts, can they still do what he just said? Don't enforce that law while it's tied up in the courts?
Well, it's tied up in the courts. Whether or not there could be any kind of a temporary injunction, kind of depends on the court, on the disposition of the court, and on the legal facts involved. But he does have a real problem, President Obama does, with the present Supreme Court. Now, everybody thinks that the Supreme Court joined him and that Chief Justice Roberts abandoned the conservative cause. by upholding the Health Care Act. Well, I don't think that's really the case. I think that's one case where Chief Justice Roberts went astray. But I think it still is pretty much 5-4 against Obama. And that's one of the things that I have included in my history. I have Obama doing what Franklin Delano Roosevelt was going to do back in the 30s, expanding the number of the Supreme Court so he could pack it with his own people and get rid of this conservative majority. And I think that there is a great potential for that.
If that would happen, how does the president go about accomplishing that?
All he has to do is just ask Congress to do it. A lot of people have the misimpression that the Constitution says that we should have 9 Supreme Court justices. The Constitution doesn't say anything about the number. The number is set by Congress. So all Obama has to do is go to his Congress in 2014 after the election, well, in 2015, I guess, after the elections, if the liberals, if the Democrats take back the House, and say, we need to expand the Supreme Court. Now, he's not going to say, it's because I'm afraid they're going to vote down my legislation 5-4. He'll give other reasons. We need more minorities or more this or more that to make it look more like the country. Then when he gets more judges, Congress just has to do it. Then he just appoints to those vacant positions. If they increase it to 13 members, then he's going to have 4 more to appoint. And then he has total control of the Supreme Court, and he knows that Supreme Court will then rubber stamp any legislation that Congress passes.
Wow, this is all scary.
Well, yes, it sure is.
And when you were explaining that, I was sitting here thinking, it's it's not really hard to accomplish, is it? I mean, if the dominoes fall in the right spots, it's a piece of cake to accomplish.
Well, it is, and FDR almost did it back in the 30s. And the only reason he didn't do it, he finally withdrew the legislation before it was passed, because he, in effect, worked out a compromise with the Supreme Court, and they signaled him that they would not continue to throw out all of his New Deal legislation. But, yeah, it's a very easy thing to do. Congress just has to do it.
My goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to get Judge Minier's book, One Nation Under Obamas, plural, Obamas. And you can get it at Amazon.com. Would you say you get it in the hardback or the Kindle? Can we get it at Barnes & Noble?
Yes, both places in both versions.
And I think it would be a terrific read. I always tell our listeners, we like to bring people on our show that will cause us to think. I have this real, I don't know what you call it, but I have this thing that I get very sad when I look around and I don't see people thinking. They're just kind of like, don't following the guy in front of them, and that guy's following the guy in front of them, and everybody they don't know where they're going. They're just content to follow somebody and go there. So I tell our audience, I like it when people come and they make us think, because that brain that God gave us is one of the coolest mechanisms that this world has ever seen, and we are to use it and to think as individuals, not as a pack. And this book will cause you to think, and perhaps open your eyes and perk up your ears, that we can really get something done. We're standing at the crossroads again, ladies and gentlemen, and each time we get there, it's worse than the time before. So please pay attention and get this book. Judge, where's Hillary fit into all this thing? Or is she just going bye-bye?
Who's that?
Hillary.
Oh, Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I have happening to Hillary is Hillary being put on the Supreme Court. And actually I have that happening even without the Supreme Court being packed. I have Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg being talked into retiring because of her age, but mainly it's so that Obama can appoint Hillary. And the main reason is to get Hillary out of the way so Michelle can run in 2016. So I think that's a real possibility. I think Hillary's going to be a little bit too old possibly to run next time. She looks pretty tired lately. She is getting on in years. And the Supreme Court would be a great honor for her. It would be an easy job. She could still go out and give speeches. And I think that's a real likelihood.
That makes a lot of sense. And what you said about Obama being the president of the United Nations, when I hear people talk about this New World Order, I mean, it causes me to tremble. And you know, I have a saying that Ray Charles could see it coming. He's both blind and dead, but this
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, this United Nation thing, it's scary in and of itself, much less than someone cuddling right up to it like Obama does, right?
Right. Well, in my history, I have the United Nations becoming very, very powerful. I have Obama as the first president right now. Of course, they just have a Secretary General. And I have them changing it to president for Obama to give it more prestige. And then in the ensuing years, I have it gaining more and more power, where the most of the nations, well, not all of them, but anyway, the United States Army, all of the military forces go under the command of the United Nations. I have the United Nations controlling the world economy, and actually a new unit of currency, the Omni, being used, and that is all being administered by the United Nations. And this is all under Obama as the President of the United Nations, which is a position I think that he would enjoy even more than his present position as President.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've told people for years now, whoever controls, I call them the 3 F's, food, fuel, and funds. Whoever controls those 3 things can control the world. And this whole thing, I believe personally that the stage is set. I don't know if the curtain's going to go up. I don't know if it's coming down. I guess you can pick whichever way you want it to move. But I think the stage is set for all of these things to take place. And it just seems like things are happening at the speed of light anymore, aren't they?
Well, they really are, and things are happening around the world, I think, faster than before because we're doing nothing. We're leading from behind. It's absolutely amazing to me that the liberal press, taking that phrase of Obama, leading from behind, and making it into something that sounds good and honorable. It's just crazy. The very idea of leading from behind is nonsensical, and well, it's dangerous and stupid. Mm-hmm. But in any event, things are moving very rapidly on the international scale because we're not doing anything, and the bad guys around the world know that they can get away with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that our enemies know that we're not going to do anything. Benghazi is a perfect example. Do you think anything is ever going to come of that? I mean, is somebody going to pursue that, or have we heard all we're going to hear about Benghazi?
I really think we've heard all we're ever going to hear, because I think in situations like that, the only thing that can keep it going is the media. And when you have the mainstream media that are going to basically cover up for anything the Obama administration does, it just dies. Things like this come up, and they just die because we have nothing but talk shows like yours and Fox News to keep them alive. And let's face it, not the majority of the whole country pay any attention to that. So I don't think we're going to hear it anymore. I think it's dead because the media is killing it.
It is really sad. I always, I always tell people when we get to talk about Benghazi and some of the slaps across the face we've taken and with no reaction, I always tell them, remember President Reagan, I believe it was President Reagan, when he sent the fighter planes, he gave the pilots Omar Gaddafi's address. Here's his address. Go do your thing. So he sent the fighter planes right down the street, and they blew up his house, and did this and did that. We don't do that anymore. I mean, we don't do anything anymore.
Well, even Obama tries to speak well of Reagan and make people think that he's another Reagan. It's really odd. I think poor President Reagan would roll over in his grave when he sees Obama saying, well, I'm doing a lot of things just like President Reagan did. Mm. Well, let me mention something else here, George. We're talking about the press and how he has a compliant press that's virtually abdicated its role as the fifth column, the safeguard of our liberties by exposing all these things. I think what's going to happen to them eventually, it's going to come back and it's going to bite them in the rear end, because whenever you have any totalitarian state tendencies of a government, they have to do a number of things. They have to begin with, one of the main things, they have to suppress free speech. There are a lot of other things they need to do, like destroying religion, taking away the guns, and exercising as much indoctrination and thought control as possible. But they always need to try to put down or suppress free speech. Mm-hmm. And right now, this liberal media is just going along with everything the Obamas do, covering for them. But I think it's going to come back to a situation where they will regret it, because, and I have all this in the history, I think that the administrations will start passing a number of bills through a compliant Congress that is going to shut down free speech, and I think it's going to totally shut down and take off the air talk radio. And eventually, the present mainstream media, I think, is going to find that if they want to say or write anything negative about the administration, they're not going to be allowed to do it. And they may wake up at that time and say, "My gosh, what have we done?"
That's another crowd. I don't know, Judge, if it's the water they're drinking, or the snacks that they're taking, or if it's just plain stupidity. I just don't understand these people. Who is it? Someone says that they're born they're born that way. I guess.
Well, as you pointed out, I think there are a lot of people that just don't think. They don't think, and they're not informed. And when they don't think and they're not informed, Lenin had a name for them, and that was useful idiots. Mm-hmm. And I hate to apply that word, but when they don't think, they are very useful to regimes like the Obama administration.
It's scary. It's scary. I've kept you almost an hour, Judge Minier. My goodness, it's so interesting. It's scary, but it's interesting. But yet it's something that we need to hear, that we need to pay attention to. If somehow somebody could just slap us 6 ways from Sunday and wake us up, maybe we could get out of this thing. But, wow. Men like you, men like the fellow that was on from Homeland Security, and others that are out there, like the watchman on the wall, you are to be commended, sir. I thank you for your courage. I thank you for just telling it like it is. And
well, thank you very much, George, and don't leave yourselves out, because you and all of the other conservative talk show hosts are just doing the nation a great service. Before we had talk shows, before we had conservative radio, before we had the internet, the mainstream media could get away with anything they wanted, and you are what's keeping the nation aware of what is really going on. So you're also to be commended for that.
Well, I thank you, sir. Sometimes I get so what is it? I don't want to say angry. I don't want to say mad. My righteous indignation gets so stirred up I spit sideways. But then I get myself back together again, and I'm all right. I wish you the very, very best, Judge Minner. I thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope we can have you come back again soon.
I would enjoy that. Thank you very much, George. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. And I'll tell the people where they can get your book several more times before we go off the air tonight.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Tremendous, tremendous. Think. Think, and I'll be back in 30. Before we get into this thing too far, turn the lights out. Kick back, close your eyes, and let the music go way down deep inside. Isaac likes it. That was the Rocket Reducers. Bottle of Blues. Ooh, I like that. I just, right before it was over, I turned the lights back on and I put my seat upright. You know what I mean? That's the kind of music that gets down deep inside your soul. And you get down deep inside the music. That's just Espinlov saying. You know what I mean? Wow. I thank Judge Minier for being with us tonight. He has written the book, One Nation Under Obamas. And you need to go to Amazon.com. You can get it in the Kindle format, or you can get it in the hard copy. Take your choice, but please, please get the book, One Nation Under Obamas. And what he does is he takes you into the year of, I think it's 2022, and takes you up to 2022 and shows you from a historical viewpoint what could happen. What could happen. He doesn't say it will definitely happen, but he draws a picture of what could happen. And listen, things are moving so fast today. Things are happening so quickly. Things are changing rapidly. A lot of things are taking place that we don't know anything about until after they've already taken place. And then there's still other things that has taken place that we don't know and we probably never will know. So wake up, America. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Yes, it can happen here in the United States of America. I grew up just as you did in a great, great nation. Let us never take it for granted that tyranny can't happen here. It can happen anywhere if we let our guard down, if we go to sleep at the switch, if we're looking for goodies instead of goodness. So let's do what we have to do. Please, please, please. Let's get our nation up and running again. Thank you. That didn't cost you anything. I threw that all in for free because it comes from my heart. I mean that. I mean that. Hey, listen, tomorrow night we're going to have a fella here by the name of Tolly Schmidt. And I'm telling you, he's going to come in here with energy. I mean, energy. I just know it. I feel it. I'm telling you, Tolly Schmidt is coming here with energy tomorrow night. He is going to pump you up. I mean, he is going to get your motor running. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Tolly Schmidt does. He's an author. He's an international speaker. When Tolly comes tomorrow night, be prepared. Be prepared to get cranked up because he's going to tell you what he's going to tell you so you know what he told you. When he's done, you'll know even more what he told you. You got all that? Tolly Schmidt tomorrow night. And then on Friday night, you know, Friday nights, the freaky Friday nights around here, we never know what's going to happen. But we do know one thing. Bobby Smith, the pianist, is going to be with us. And we featured some of his music when we played the Unshackled series, the episodes. The man could flat out play a piano. I mean, you know, when I listen to his music, and when I listen to anyone play an instrument, the way he plays that piano, I think, wow, they make it seem so easy. But that's their God-given talent, and they're using it. And he'll be with us on Friday night, so I'm sure you're going to want to tune in. And then, of course, you know, we never know. After our guest leaves, well, that cloud of insanity falls down upon us, and we just don't know what's going to happen next. We don't really care because we live in our world, and we don't even know where that is. And welcome back to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. We want you to email us, GeorgeCE, that's GeorgeCE at Comcast.net, GeorgeCE at Comcast.net. Follow us on Twitter, at PopPopX7, at PopPopX7. Come on over to Facebook, look me up over there. I be your friend, you be my friend, okay? Go to the EspenBlog.com, the Espen Show Radio, the Espen Radio Show dot theespenblog.com. Just go to the Espen Blog. That's TheEspenblog.com, and you'll see up there a little tabby thing that you can hit that'll take you over to the radio show news page, and that's where we post our guest that's going to be appearing, and so on and so forth. So follow us on Twitter, whatever it's called. Follow us. We have no idea where we're going, but follow us anyhow. We'll go someplace. One guy used to tell me, let's do something, even if it's wrong. And unfortunately, we did a few of those things too. That's for another day. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on the EspenBlog.com. And most of all, follow us here on Spreaker, the Spreaker Network, Spreaker.com. Tell your friends, your family, your in-laws, your outlaws, friends, Romans, and countrymen, and anyone that'll listen to you. Tell them to tune in to the George Espinlove Show. And not only my show, but there are literally, I've said this I don't know how many times, but there are literally thousands upon thousands of men and women, boys and girls, that's broadcasting on this one single network, on the Spreaker network. That's not counting all the thousands that's on Blog Talk and all the other networks that's out there. This is truly one of the greatest eras to live in that we're in right now. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of men and women, boys and girls that's got a voice. They've got a platform. They've got an agenda. And they're shouting it out around the world. All you need is a computer, an internet hookup, and off you go into the wild blue yonder, into cyberspace, and you can shout out your message. And listen, we need men and women and young people that'll stand on the walls and shout out the warning around this world. So, not only my show, but tune in to the other. I mean, it would take you a lifetime. I try to listen to as many news shows as I possibly can. They're not new. They're new to me. But it takes you a while to get around. You know what I'm saying? And if I live to be 100, I'll never get done listening to all the broadcasters that's on this network alone. So tune in and listen. If you like music, you got tons of broadcasters that's playing great music. If you like talk, there's tons of broadcasters that got great talk shows. Whatever you like, variety, comedy, I mean, you name it, it's in there. It's like Prego. It's in there. And you know, the great thing is, you can listen to the George Espinlove Show or any of these other shows on Spreaker on your iPhone. Just go to Apple and download the Spreaker, that's Spreaker, the Spreaker app, free of charge. If you've got a Droid system, just go to your marketplace and bring down the Spreaker app. The same way for tablets, whatever tablet you have, whatever operating system you have, just go get it, get the Spreaker app, and you can listen to any show that you want to on the Spreaker network, anytime, any place that you might be. So, I mean, we're out there. You can get us 16 different ways from last week, and I hope that you really do. What was I doing all that lip dripping for anyhow? Such a much. Have you ever heard such a thing? Such a much. Such a much, yeah.
such much. Girl, you lost your touch. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. You can't make love no more. You got to pack your things and go. Get up, because you ain't so such much. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. When you was in your prime, you treated me so unkind. Get up, because you ain't so such much. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. Your story sounds so bad. Keep me feeling mighty sad. Get up, cause you ain't so such much. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. You ain't so such much. Girl, you lost your touch. Won't you hurry up and go? I can't stand you anymore. Get up, cause you ain't so such much. Don't forget to shut the door. Yeah, I'd help you move stuff, but I got that thing with my back.
I got that thing in my back. Hey, before I forget it, I want to tell you, remember about a week and several days, about a week and a half ago, we had on the show Mr. Kenzel Evans, the man who spent over a decade in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. He called me this morning. In fact, Kenzel and I we have bonded and we have quite a friendship. He is a terrific human being, but nonetheless, he called me this morning and he wanted to tell me that 3 people called him today, early this morning, from different parts of the country, and told him how they enjoyed his interview on the George Espinlaub show and how much they liked the show. And he's had calls from different places since he's been on. And he is going on more radio stations. I think he said he had an interview tonight, tomorrow, and he has one on Monday. So I thought I'd pass that on because he's the man that wrote the book, Breaking the Silence, Railroaded by Family, Friends, and the Law. And he wrote the true story, Breaking the Silence. He was convicted and sentenced to 2 life terms plus 15 years for a crime that he never committed, and spent over a decade in prison. So I thought I'd pass the good news on. So if you want a good read, go to Amazon.com and just type in there Kenzel, Kenzell Evans, and his book will come up, Breaking the Silence. And speaking of Amazon.com, go to Amazon.com and pick up Judge David Minier's book, One Nation Under Obamas. That's plural, One Nation Under Obamas. It'll be a read that I believe once you start, you won't be able to lay it down until you finish it. And besides that, it will make you think. And that's what we want.
Just one wish. Tell me the a little selfish. It's alright, no one's around now. If that wish were mine, world peace would have to wait, you know. After all, I'm just a man, and you're impossibly beautiful. While I'm driving, strikes me funny all the while. Years of building my backbone, blown apart by a smile. But what would you say if I told you when we're alone, it feels like Emily Hayes on my coaster. It strikes me funny all the while. Years of building my backbone, blown apart by your smile. What would you say if I told you when we're alone, it feels like Emily Hayes on my car stereo. How you paint pictures in my mind when I clown and tease you. Your look of shock gets me perfectly high. You won't see it coming, but you won't really be surprised. One of these times, gonna kiss you deeply neath the new moon sky. Oh, when I'm driving, it strikes me funny all the while. Years of building the backbone, blown apart by your smile. What would you say if I told you when we're alone, it feels like Emily Hayes on my car stereo. Take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works. Radio works. We'll take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works. Radio works.
And radio do work. Yeah, it do. Listen, tomorrow night, Tolly Schmidt is going to be here. Go to his website, Tollie, Tollie, Schmidt, SCHMIDT.com. TollieSchmidt.com. I want to read something to you. It's on his website, and then you can go and hang out there because there's a lot of interesting things there. But he said this: in life we have choices and decisions. Remember that. Everyone has a choice, and everyone will have to make decisions. Many people choose to live, I like this, many people choose to live a lifestyle stuck in between where they are now and where they could choose to be. This is where our dream-infused lifestyle news site comes into practice. You deserve to create the lifestyle and life of your dreams. You deserve to feel the energy and passion of life pulsating through your veins. I'm telling you, he's coming in here. He's coming in here with energy. I mean it. He's going to rock us alive tomorrow night. However, many times the only missing ingredient is the lack of knowledge. Oh my. To get from where you currently are today to where you deserve to be. And he goes on to say, so here at Tollie Schmidt, online dream-infused lifestyle news site, we have brought you the tools and resources to address many of life's current challenges. In addition to addressing your current lifestyle and challenges, we know success is in your future. So we brought unique content for your new lifestyle, an empowered, dream-infused, high-octane lifestyle. Remember, we all have choices and we all have decisions to make. The only thing, you've heard the old saying, I am my worst enemy. That is so true, so true. Don't listen to the negative things around you. Don't listen to people that bring you down or put you down. You are a very unique individual. So do something about it and do something with it. That don't cost you nothing neither. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand what you don't understand. I'm not saying it in black and white. If you can't get your hands on it, I'll be laughing when you slip, but I won't stick around for the fight. There's a lot of villains in your neighborhood, and if you try and stop them, you're a fool. That's a job for Superman. If he can do it, no one can. And sticking up for you is not my style. This is not a song about me and you. I can't vouch for it if I don't know it. This is the looking glass that I have found. Searching for a vision, I think I'm dreaming. Monday morning, I am getting up for work with all my legs and all my arms and everything that I've become. It's not so mad to go berserk. Change the channel, Saturday night. I'm listening, I don't hear a thing. Put your hands up if you dance, or you're falling into quick romance. Oh, somebody set me free. This is not a song about me and you. I can't vouch for it if I don't know it. This is the looking glass that I have found. Searching for a vision, I think I'm dreaming. This is not a song about me and you. I can't vouch for it
Fred's house. Fred's house, Looking Glass. I want to thank our friends down there at musicalley.com. Musicalley.com. That's where we go get our music. There are artists down there that's not in the mainstream, but I'm telling you what, these guys and gals can flat out sing. So Charlie's responsible for that. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you so very, very much. Charlie, you know, the guy that runs the soundboard. He does the opening announcement. He's my co-host. You know, as I say so many times, what would I do without Charlie? We're going to get out of here, and I was going to say something that I needed to say before we leave, but it kind of slipped my mind, you know, like things do sometimes. I can be thinking of something, and even while I'm thinking of something, I forget what I was thinking about. I'm trying to remember what I was going to tell you, other than tune in tomorrow night, but it'll come back to me after we sign off. But anyhow, I want to thank you for hanging with me tonight. I mean that. Thank you. I want to thank Judge David Minier for being with us. One Nation Under Obama's. One Nation Under Obama's, plural. Go to Amazon.com. One Nation Under Obama's. Get the book. Please get the book. It'll make you think. It'll open your eyes. And perhaps you'll perk up your ears and hear what you need to hear. There's something that I wanted to say, and I didn't want to leave until I said it. But I can't remember what it was. So, anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole lot of love that's coming to you from the Funny Farm. We mean that. We mean that. Wherever you're at, if it's nighttime, you have a great night. If it's daytime already, like, you know, tomorrow, somewhere, and you're listening, then you have a fine, fine, super fine day. But regardless of where you are and what it is, until tomorrow night, same time, same station, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Spreaker Network. Tune in for another George Espinlove show coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. Email me, GeorgeCE, GeorgeCE@Comcast.net, GeorgeCE@Comcast.net. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, and anyone else that'll listen, you have a great night. Stay safe. May God bless you. Good night, everybody.